say after the presentation on the storm, and we take your questions on that, we'll have a quick presentation from DEP Commissioner Vinnie Sapienza on the situation in Queens with the sewage back up. We'll take some quick questions on that as well. I'll be going out to Queens later on in the afternoon. We'll be taking questions out there as well. But first to the storm. Well, winter's here. Everyone get ready now. It's going to be obviously months ahead, but for now what we have is a lot of rain that later on in the afternoon will turn to snow. And fortunately that will probably correlate to the rush hour. So the first thing I want to say to folks is, if you don't need to be in your car later on, if you can avoid driving or if you can take mass transit, please do, because it's going to be a really sloppy rush hour this evening. Want to make sure everyone knows that for today, alternate side parking is canceled. So hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier for drivers in terms of where they keep their cars. Now, what we have heard from the National Weather Service so far, we expect another update shortly, but right now, the snow will start later on this afternoon. The initial expectation is 2 to 4 inches if you're talking about the city as a whole, but I do want to note there is a projection now for certain parts of the city, particularly the more northern parts of the city, of up to 5 to 8 inches. And again, as we have learned with previous storms, they can come faster and they can be larger than originally projected. So the fact that we've got 5 to 8 inches projected for some parts of the city should, make everyone quite aware that number could go up and could go up quickly. Of course, we are prepared, and the sanitation department always leads the way. They have 705 salt spreaders deployed and 1,500 plows ready to start their work once there is enough snow accumulation. Now, we, again, anticipate that anything can happen with a storm, so we've been doing a lot to lay a foundation to get ready. Sanitation Department has already spread liquid brine on the highway ramps in advance. This is an area where we've had some problems in the past, so we're taking additional proactive steps to make sure those highway ramps are usable. Also, a number of changes have taken place since last winter as a result of things we learned. For one thing, Office of Emergency Management has hired a meteorologist of its own to work directly with the National Weather Service. Even a small improvement in the forecasting helps us a lot. If we can hone exactly where a problem is going to be, exactly how many inches of snow or the exact time, even being able to know it'll come an hour earlier, an hour later can change how we approach it. So having that meteorologist is going to help a lot. Agencies are also communicating a lot more. We found 6 years ago a lot of agencies didn't work together. We've been working steadily to improve that. One of the simple things we're doing is making sure that every agency talks together, all together, every 30 minutes during a storm situation to constantly make adjustments and improvements to our plan. And we've tripled the number of weather monitoring devices around the city so we can have a much more accurate and immediate sense of what's happening. Also, one of the things we learned from past storms is that our sanitation plows need, of course, to get where the need is greatest, and sometimes they can't do that alone. So from now on, the NYPD will be escorting sanitation plows when necessary to get them through. If there is a traffic jam up and we need the plows to get to where the problem is greatest, NYPD is going to lead the way. Also, another thing that's important during storms, but important all the time for parents, the Department of Education has now installed GPS tracking on all of our school buses, and parents can therefore always find out what's happening with their child. And I want to remind parents that the number you can call whenever you need to check in real time for the location of your child's school bus, that number is 718-392-8855. Again, 718-392-8855. So, update on schools, that right now, of course, school is open today. Everything's moving smoothly. We anticipate school being open tomorrow. We're going to obviously watch the storm closely into the evening. If anything changes, we'll certainly alert the people of the city, but right now, assume school is open tomorrow. One thing that is different will be certain after-school programs today, a small number of them that rely on school buses, those will be closed. But normal school bus service will be running for sure. Now, we expect temperatures to get colder tonight, and therefore our code blue is in effect to help anyone vulnerable or homeless. If you see someone in need, please call 311. And as always, check on your neighbors, check on anybody who might need help. anyone who's disabled. Help out our seniors if they need any help with shoveling, please do what you can to help them. Look out for each other. That is the spirit of the holiday season, and that's the spirit that New Yorkers bring to every challenge. We're going to get an update in a moment from OEM Commissioner Criswell and Sanitation Commissioner Garcia, but just first a few words in Spanish. Esperamos hasta 4 pulgadas de nieve hoy comenzando esta tarde. La ciudad está preparada para esta y cualquier tormenta. Llame al 311 si necesita ayuda. With that, I want to turn to Commissioner Deanne Criswell, who will give us the latest what she and her team are hearing from the National Weather Service.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. And as the mayor said, you are seeing rain now that is going to transition into a sleet, slushy mixture later this afternoon and turning into snow during that evening commute home. Our message out to New Yorkers is that we really urge you to stay off the roads if possible, use mass transit. We want to alleviate any of the congestion that we might see in that afternoon commute. According to the latest National Weather Service forecast, the rain again is going to continue into the afternoon, but it will taper off by daybreak on Tuesday. What we are doing here at the city to prepare for that is we have issued a travel advisory for today. Travel conditions are going to be messy, and again, public transportation is your best option. We are going to stay in close communication with the National Weather Service throughout the day, as well as with our new meteorologist. Our next update is at 11 a.m. We have surged our staffing here in our watch command, as well as we have staffed our emergency operations center so that we can rapidly coordinate any resources that are needed if conditions do worsen. We have been conducting daily weather calls, and we will continue to communicate with our city agencies and partner agencies to make sure that we are bringing all necessary resources to the residents of New York as needed. And I can't say it enough, the advice for today is to stay off the roads if you can stay off the roads, and use mass transit as much as you can. And as always, make sure that you're checking in on your neighbors and your loved ones to see if there's anything that you can do to help them out. Thank you.
Thank you. Sanitation Commissioner Catherine Garcia.
Good morning, everyone, and I hope everyone had a good holiday. As the mayor mentioned, we have 705 spreaders out. We have been pre-salting, so we should have a nice coating on before we begin to see the icy conditions, which will then convert to snow conditions. We will then deploy the 1,500 plows. They will not start plowing until we are at 2 inches of snowfall. But we think that we also will see suppressed accumulations with the pre-salting. We split into 2 shifts, so we have over 2,600 sanitation workers on the day line. We will have another 2,300 coming in on the evening line. With that said, you can expect that there will be delays in collection. We did some of it last night, but leave the material out. We will be getting to it as soon as we are through with snow operations. As I remind everyone, as everyone else has, conditions are going to change very quickly as we move into the evening rush, and we anticipate seeing both ice and slush, as well as snowfall, which obviously could go up or down based on what happens with the freezing line. But I want to encourage every New Yorker to please use mass transit, and if they are driving, to just be slow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Let's take questions on the storm. Any questions? Dave?
I sense, and maybe it's because it's the first storm of the year, or this is a longer storm, and we don't know how much exactly we're going to get in the city, but I sense a little bit of maybe anxiety, for lack of a better word here, about the storm. Maybe I'm wrong, but is there a sense of, like, we just don't know what this is going to do this storm?
I would say it's hyper-focus. I think maybe a cousin to anxiety, but Dave, I think we have all learned to just expect the unexpected. I keep reminding everyone that we literally all together, a lot of you were all here earlier on a few years ago, and we had the largest blizzard in the history of New York City. I want to say, Catherine, 28 inches, 29 inches, something like that? 27.5, there you go. And that was literally the biggest snowstorm in 150 years. The first National Weather Service forecast on that storm was 8 inches. And that's not to put down the Weather Service. They do fantastic work. But the point is, Mother Nature makes her own decisions. So as we are ramping up for the snow season and sort of getting the rust off and getting ready to get back into snow action, We wanted to be in a state of, intense readiness. We've also seen very sudden shifts sometimes, where a storm arrives hours earlier than predicted. And so I think what we've learned is expect the unexpected, get ready, get everything ready early. If the worst problem you have is you were too ready and the snow didn't materialize, that's probably a good problem to have. Go ahead, Andrew.
Two questions. First, on the after-school, why would you cancel just the yellow bus after-school programs? Other after-school programs rely on vans and other forms of transportation. Why not be consistent on the approach to after-school?
I think for the basic reason is, you're talking about a lot of after-school is very local, first of all, where it's kids obviously right in the immediate community where it's less of a challenge. And this is different than the regular school buses that tend to, leave, give or take, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so ahead of when we expect the worst of the snow. I think we just thought these are larger vehicles during the time when the snow is supposed to be active. Losing the after-school for a day is obviously not that big a problem, but it's better safe than sorry.
The second question about the meteorologist that you guys hired. I did hear Commissioner Criswell talk about consulting with the National Weather Service. Are you not yet in a position where you're consulting with your own meteorologist? Or how do you coordinate the official forecast with your in-house forecast, and what if they differ?
You are asking an excellent question. Many scenarios there. I'll have Commissioner Criswell speak to it. I want to state the obvious. It's like anything else in life. Having your own expertise helps you to make better decisions. Look, I'll use a very, very different parallel. Long time ago, the NYPD made a very smart decision, decided we needed our own intelligence gathering, our own counterterrorism capacity. That proved to be a very smart decision. This is, thank God, a much milder dynamic. But having your own in-house expertise allows the ability to ask better questions, see trends, see small things that could turn into big things, especially issues like what is the exact timing of a storm. Commissioner, you want to speak to that further?
Yeah, it's a great question, and the National Weather Service is a really great partner, and they give us the official forecast. Our meteorologist is working directly with them, and they're really helping us operationalize that information, giving us more specifics and minute information about timing so we can make better decisions on when and how we can best deploy the resources in the city to meet those demands.
Okay. Yes.
Right now you're seeing between 3 and 7 accumulation?
I think that the central forecast for the city remains 2 to 4, but the high end for the more northern parts of the city is now at 5 to 8. Again, we've all been down this road before. This could fluctuate a lot, but when I start to hear 5 to 8, I'm like, buckle your seatbelts because you're never sure what's going to happen next. Juliet?
When will you think about school tomorrow?
Well, we'll be thinking about it from the end of the afternoon on. I mean, the snow right now, we're expecting to have hit around rush hour, unfortunately. But we got to see how much, we got to see how intense it is, how long we expect it to go. As you know, I was a public school parent. I know how much parents value getting the information as early as possible on the next day. So my message to parents right now is school is on tomorrow. Assume it's on. If we start to be concerned, we'll let people know that, things might be changing. My goal is always to get the word out to parents during the evening hours so they can make their plans and adjustments. Sometimes we don't know until the very last moment, but we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to get to a firm yes or no by the end of the evening. Anna?
Last November, you guys had a storm that may not have been prepared enough for, and as a result, the OEM commissioner was forced out or resigned.
Well, that's not true, so continue. The first part we had, I'm going to just, let me interrupt the question if I may. We had a storm that was an absolute freak storm. There was no correlation between what was projected and what happened, and most importantly, the busiest bridge in America went out, which is not something anyone foresaw. That said, we have definitely learned a lot of lessons. We've definitely seen things we could have done better then had we recognized that a 1 or 2 inch storm can suddenly turn into something much worse. We have made a lot of changes. What happened with the commissioner was an entirely different matter. Go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, you're saying to all the commissioners standing around you today, like, don't worry, whatever happens, I'm not gonna.
That's just not a realistic question. Go ahead.
2 questions. First, what advice do you have both for drivers and for Subway and Metro North and LNWR riders who are going to go home this afternoon? And second, what's going on at Rikers Island, the other city jails? There have been some reports that it's very cold there. Are there blankets being distributed? How's heat, et cetera?
On the first question, and I don't know who here can give the best answer on Rikers. I don't think we have a representative corrections here, so if someone else has that information, Commissioner Criswell or someone else step up in a second, or else we'll get it to you right away. On the commuters, look, I think that it's real common sense stuff. If you can take mass transit instead of driving, please do. If you can leave early instead of late, leave early. Expect things to be slow. Expect problems out there, and try and give yourself the time so you're not rushing, because the last thing we want people to do is be trying to rush through such a difficult situation. So just everyone realize this thing is unfortunately hitting right when you wouldn't want it to around rush hour. And again, could be much bigger than we're hearing right now, or could be smaller as well.
Does Commissioner Criswell know about the Rikers situation?
We're getting more information right now.
We'll get that to you in a few minutes.
Yeah, considering the 80 flooded homes in Queens, is there a special approach to that considering the storm?
We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's do that separately. Just say anything else on it, Dave.
Are you urging companies to go ahead and tell their employees, leave early?
Look, this one, as per usual, we've got an unclear situation. If I were running a company and looking at this forecast right now, I wouldn't be particularly in awe of it. But I would say to companies, certainly recognize if you can cut some slack to your employees, please do. And certainly don't keep people late, because we do expect it to get worse as the rush hour continues. So right now, Dave, this one is a little hard to call at this moment in the morning. What I would urge everyone to do is keep a close eye on the news throughout the afternoon. And if it starts picking up earlier or more intense, then that's a scenario for sure where I'd ask employers to be as lenient as possible. Any other questions on the weather situation? Going once, going twice. Okay, let me have Commissioner Sapienza come up and talk about the situation in Queens.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. So on Saturday, DEP crews responded to complaints of sewage backing up into homes in South Ozone Park in Queens. We subsequently determined that the problem was a large sewer near Kennedy Airport at 150th Street that had a partial blockage in it, which was causing the sewage to back up. About 74 homes were affected with some level of sewage. I visited many of them, and the sewage in their basements ranged from a few inches to several feet, and we helped with the pump out. Recognizing that clearing that blockage, because that large sewer is 40 feet deep, would take some time. Yesterday, DEP set up what's called a bypass system, where we put a large pipe above ground on the street, and we're pumping sewage up from the lower level through that pipe, and that's now alleviating any backups into the neighborhood, and we're continuing to work with the residents to resolve their issues.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you to you and all the members of your team who've been working hard the last few days to resolve it. Yes?
Actually, a number of Queens residents said yesterday that the city had a pretty crappy response to the sewage problem, pardon the pun. And they would have liked to, I know you said you're going out today, but they would have liked to see me there yesterday or even Saturday.
Again, the most important thing is to get the work done, and our emergency crews were doing that, and the important thing was for them to stabilize the situation, which I think they have done a very good job under very adverse circumstances. There's more to do. I'm going out there today. I want to assure all the homeowners we're going to stand with them, and we're going to help them get back on their feet and address their issues case by case, home by home.
What are the adverse circumstances?
It's a very tough operation. I mean, this is very, look, I'm trying to remember in all my time in public service, I don't remember anything like this before. This is a tough, unexpected situation. Commissioner, why don't you're a lifelong DEPer, why don't you explain?
Yeah, so the location of this large sewer makes it difficult. The depth of the large sewer makes it difficult to clear. So again, we did set up this pump around system. We're pumping around 10 million gallons a day of wastewater past the blockage to relieve this community of further backups. So it's tough work, and the icy rain yesterday just made it even tougher.
So can you just clarify, there were earlier statements that came out of the DEP saying that it was maybe turkey grease from Thanksgiving, so this has nothing to do with that. It's actually coming from the airport that caused the blockage?
Just on grease, the actual statement that we made is the vast majority of backups related to sewage backups around the city is related to cooking grease. We did not say that the reason for this particular blockage was cooking grease, and until we actually get in that sewer, we won't know for sure. So that was the statement that was made. It has nothing to do with the airport. It's just that's the location where the sewer runs through, and it runs to the Jamaica wastewater treatment plant.
So wait, this wasn't caused by grease?
The statement we made on Saturday was that the vast majority of backups around the city are caused by residential cooking grease, but that this one we wouldn't know until we got into the sewer.
To be clear, you guys don't know what the cause is yet because you haven't gotten
That's
in.
correct.
Okay.
How long will it take for you to get to it?
So we're doing excavation now. We actually had to, because of the depth of the excavation, we had to bring in special shoring from Massachusetts. It's on site. The repairs may take several days, but again, with the bypass pumping system, any wastewater that's generated from that neighborhood will bypass the blockage, and there will no longer be backups.
But you're still trying to get to that
That's
pipe
correct.
and to the blockage. How long does that take?
So we're working on that now. Again, there are 2 lanes of the South Conduit Expressway that may be closed. We're working with DOT on that as well, but it will take several days to get down there and take a look.
Where are the lanes closed from where to where on Conduit South?
Yeah, so it's the Rockaway Boulevard entrance ramp of the Conduit going eastbound is closed, and the 150th Street overpass is closed.
Commissioner, the homes needing to be pumped, is DEP handling that, or are the homeowners finding their own resources to do this?
So 2 things. DEP offered support. Any homeowner that needed our help, we've pumped them out. We worked with the Office of Emergency Management to set up pumping systems for them. Many of the homeowners already had their own pumps, and those were in place very early on, and they pumped themselves out.
What about the cost of repairs for homes? Is there going to be any kind of way that residents can get funds for this?
So right away, we told the homeowners to fill out a form to make a claim for compensation through the New York City Controller's Office. DEP admitted responsibility for the problem, so the controller will cut checks. We've heard from some homeowners that they don't have the out-of-pocket means to start the work, and so our Office of Emergency Management is working with them. Okay.
Any other questions on Queens? Yes.
So does that mean now that the backup in the homes is starting with this bypass system in place? Or
So the backups have stopped as of last night.
I won't expect, because some people yesterday that were pumped out but then backed up again. That's no
Right.
longer happening.
Now with this large bypass in place as of last night, I walked the neighborhood this morning and everyone was dry.
If there's any more questions on Queens, again, we'll be out there later on, take more questions. Then on the previous question about Rikers, just an update that there is a monitoring system in place 24/7 to watch for any situations where any of the housing units get cold. If any unit gets too cold, people will be moved. Obviously, the Rikers population, thank God, is down, so they can move. DOC can move people around as needed, and there are extra blankets available. So far, so good with that. Okay, oh, yes, please.
We've had some problems with the jails here in Brooklyn as well, being old last winter,
The federal one.
the federal
mean-
one, and now also the one right here on Atlantic Avenue, they're starting to complain about cold.
Okay, we can get you an up there. At the same point, though, that there is monitoring, and we'll make sure if there's any issues, we can also move people either within the facility or out of the facility, but we'll get you a further update on that.
So when you say so far so good, there's been no activation of the monitoring as far as you know?
I have not heard of any situation where anyone needed to be moved, but let's check that as well. We'll get you an update on that. Yes?
Do you think it's appropriate for NYPD to fly the thin blue line flag? We've seen...
Is this about, we're just doing this right now. We will happily talk about other things in other times. No, we're just talking about these 2 situations. Go ahead.
One other weather question on the lessons learned from the November storm last year. You did have your partners in New Jersey who had a colossal problem that day. For example, the Port Authority bus terminal, thousands and thousands of people lined up on 8th Avenue. I just wonder, do you coordinate with them at all? Because when there are problems in New Jersey, it leads to problems in the city.
Yeah, very fair statement. And the bridge, again, I didn't know at the time, and I learned that next day, this is literally the busiest bridge in the United States. And that bridge going out caused an immense negative problem for the city, and you're right, then all sorts of other questions. I believe that one of the byproducts of that was more communication about how to make sure that doesn't happen again with the bridge, and there is a general increase in communication going on, but commissioners, either one of you want to speak to that?
Right, we certainly, actually pre-season, have been in contact with all of the people we view as partners when we are fighting snow, because we know that if there are challenges in New Jersey or in Westchester, they will impact the city of New York. And so we have been making those repeatedly during this season. And it will be very different. If you were watching television yesterday, it stayed sort of sleety here. The Meadowlands were getting snow. So this is a storm where the gradients are very close. So what's happening in New Jersey or in Westchester could have impacts on the city of New York and obviously on commuters going home.
Okay, last call. Once, twice. Okay, see you later on, everyone. Thanks. Thank you, everybody.